for Wealth Explorer, and you'll have your own login screen. So everyone in your business who you're wanting to have kind of access to your Wealth Explorer, we're able to give them logins, and they would be personalized to them, of course. Can you see my screen?
Got you, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so this is our beautiful new login screen, and of course, very obviously, Wealth Explorer is online. So you can access it through any of your Chrome, Safari, any kind of Internet Explorer, which makes it really easy, obviously, to just access Wealth Explorer on the go as well. So when you open your Wealth Explorer, this will obviously be specific to your firm. So this will be your clients list that you'll be able to see. You'll then be able to see exactly who the advisor is assigned to that particular client, which is especially helpful for your business, Kath, because I know you've got more than just 3 advisors. So you're going to easily be able to see which of your clients are associated with which of your advisors. You're able to filter to those advisors if you then just specifically wanted to have a look at your clients. But I think before we dive into too much detail on Wealth Explorer, let's just take it a step back. So you were saying that for your business, you quite enjoy, or what you have done until now, until looking into our tool and what it is we do, is you like to kind of make a blend of funds and have a look at the different funds that are available to you for the particular client you're working on, and then kind of taking it from there. Now, using Wealth Explorer and using our tool, you then have access to our portfolio metrics funds, but that's not to say that you aren't then able to be flexible and combine another element or a different third-party fund when you're going directly to platform. So that's one of the great things about using this version of Wealth Explorer. You've got a little bit more flexibility. Great, so what I'm going to do is just open a test client, and we can almost imagine this as you going through the process of loading a client within Wealth Explorer and going through that financial planning step-by-step process. So if we had our clients, and I know we have spoken briefly around our financial personality assessment. So I think that would almost be step 1 in your engagement with your clients, is to just take them through our personality assessment. And I know you mentioned you guys use a risk profiling tool, and what we found is often these risk profiling tools, they end up telling you if your client is kind of in a low, medium, or high risk bucket. And then it's almost up to you to try and force that information to work with whatever investment solution you're trying to put together for this client. What's amazing about our tool is it actually risk maps across. So from that questionnaire, those results actually move across into the investments section of the tool, which is where you're actually creating the portfolio for your client. So whereas normal risk profilers, you've got this lack of almost calibration between looking at their results and actually implementing an investment for them, our solution really does calibrate and integrate across into the profile and how you create an investment. So I'm really excited to show you that today as well. And of course, sending the personality assessment is super easy. You're welcome to get the link from the system. So a link is specific to the client that you're working in. So every client will have their own unique link, and a link is obviously just, they can click on it and it'll take them into a new browser and give them the questionnaire. So you're welcome to take the link directly from the system if you want to send a personal email to your client, WhatsApp it to them, whatever works for you. Or you can actually tell the system to send your client an email for you. And that email will literally say, you know, hi Tracy, please would you mind completing our financial personality assessment? Here's your link, and it will actually say it's coming from you and from your email address. So up to you, we can have a look at that email template. If you don't like it, we can change it, just to make it feel really like it's you, obviously asking your client to complete that questionnaire. So as soon as your client has hit submit on those questions, the system will then just send you as the advisor an email to say your client's completed their financial personality questionnaire. If you then kind of just refresh your screen, what you'll see is this beautiful dashboard generating for you. And this dashboard is just a summary of the results of your client's questionnaire, obviously. And that questionnaire is 25 questions. So we've gone through a massive process over the last year, actually, to just look at our questionnaire, make sure it stands the test of time. Is it academically sound? Is it giving us results that are reliable? And over the course of the last 10 years, since we've been using this questionnaire, we've had over 17,000 responses. So as you can imagine, that's a massive database of information that we are able to perform statistical analysis on and kind of recalibrate and make sure that the questionnaire is doing what it's meant to do. I think we even went as far as to consult language experts and behavioral finance professors. So after this session, I'll make sure to send you our financial personality assessment guide, which goes into detail on those statistics and how we did it and our thought process and the academic research really supporting it, if you're interested, of course. Any questions before I dive into kind of just a quick analysis of this client's FPA?
No, I'd love to hear more about what this all means. Thanks.
Okay, awesome. So this client, if you remember, I was kind of chatting about those typical buckets of low, medium, or high. So just to make it as simple as possible, we've got almost a dial that gives you a very quick overview of the client's personality, and then we can obviously dive into it in more detail. So this client is coming out as kind of really medium in terms of the risk personality or what they're liking. So low risk, high risk, obviously conservative and aggressive, and this person's almost coming out quite medium. What I love about the financial personality assessment is that it breaks down these results into these different elements. So we can have a look at what is flagging to you as the advisor, what elements are most likely going to be an issue when you're engaging with this person. And if we look at Tracy's results, for instance, we can see she has, she's got a little bit of gain attraction. It's a little bit on the higher side. She's not too worried about loss aversion. We can see she's got low volatility anxiety, but interestingly, her intervention risk is actually quite high. So what that tells me is that even though she may not panic when markets make big moves, she likes to intervene in what's happening in her portfolio, in the mandate that you've set out for her. She's probably going to be more likely to question what you're doing for her, or be the kind of person who chats to a friend who's invested in Bitcoin. She's going to want to intervene in her portfolio and invest in Bitcoin. So it's just really interesting to see what kind of person you're dealing with, basically just by looking at these 4 different elements. And you're welcome to generate a report on this personality, which you can then send to your client, delves into a lot more detail on all of these elements. But for you as the advisor, it's very quick and easy to just log into the screen, have a quick squiz at these 4 elements, and you've already got quite a good understanding of the person you're dealing with. And what this graph on the right shows you is what we refer to as a portfolio risk score. So this goes from 0 to 100, 0 being conservative and 100 being quite aggressive. And all that this chart is demonstrating to you is that a risk score, or a financial personality, it isn't here's you're a medium risk bucket, or you're a portfolio risk score 40 and that's you forever, and that's kind of where you're stuck. What this is showing you is that actually that risk tolerance that you have can change depending on the term of your investment. So if we have a look at Tracy specifically, we can see that at 3 years, at that term of investment of 3 years, her portfolio risk score is about 35 maybe. But if we compare that to 9+ years, you can see her risk score actually jumps almost to 60. And that's just a function of you being able to take on more risk when you've got a longer time horizon to kind of let those things play out. So this is again just showing you that that risk score isn't static. And like any personality, you're going to change. And we would almost hope that your financial personality is the same, in that when you as the advisor, you start to coach your client away from maybe they exhibit high volatility anxiety. Maybe you coach them away from that. You explain to them how loss aversion and gain attraction actually are opposing elements. You can't want gains and be adamant on avoiding losses. And when you repeat this assessment with a client a year from now, 2 years from now, you would hope to see their personality, their financial personality changing, and hopefully for the better with the coaching that you're providing them as the advisor. Awesome. So if we scroll down a little bit, these are just additional graphs that go into a little bit more detail around that personality. I particularly like this graph on the left. I'm sure you've heard of prospect theory, which basically just says that humans, we're funny. The pain we feel from a loss is greater than the joy we feel from a gain. And all that we're looking at in this graph is our investor's reaction compared to an average investor's reaction. So an average reaction would be the dotted line, and this white solid line is Tracy's reaction. And we can see she's almost bang on average, actually. She feels losses pretty much as the average person does, and she actually feels slightly more happiness than the average person does when she has a gain. So this can really come in handy, particularly if there's a huge divergence between that white line and that dotted line, because then you know how that person's reaction is going to be when the markets move up or the markets go down. You're going to know kind of how immediately they're feeling that joy or that loss or the pain of that loss. And these two graphs are just looking at kind of plotting volatility, anxiety, and loss aversion based on what we would expect an average person to see. Similarly with intervention risk and loss aversion. So Tracy's loss aversion is not too big. She's quite all right with that, but we can see that her intervention risk actually is plotting above average, and that just speaks to exactly what we saw here. And the last element that our assessment actually gives us an insight into is belief in investment skill. So belief in investment skill is basically just looking at, does your client believe in the value that you bring as an advisor? Do they believe in active management? Do they believe that outsourcing their investment management to professionals is worth it? And we can see that in Tracy's instance, this is kind of sitting on the lower end of this bar. So Tracy is probably going to want to have a full look into the fees. She's going to want to understand who all the players are making up all of the different fees. And often the guys who are presenting incredibly low on this scale, they don't necessarily understand the different role players in the industry. And it really is just a matter of educating them and taking them through that fee acknowledgement and just, showing them all of the different role players and how important they are in bringing together that investment in that portfolio. And you'll often find that the guys who show up high on the belief in investment skill, they're very comfortable with active management. They're not going to push to use passive simply just to reduce costs. Whereas the guys who are sitting lower on that belief range, they probably will question active management and want to use passives. So that's already giving you a great indication of where you can expect your conversation with your client to go, or better yet, to preempt those conversations and just know that, with this particular client, with Tracy, we know we're going to go into detail on the fees. It's just an interesting thing.
Chris, could I see a quick example of the report that my client would get on this financial personality assessment?
Of course. So it's literally as easy as clicking generate reports, and you get this beautiful financial personality report. Keeping in mind now, this portfolio metrics that you're seeing here, that will be completely branded to your business. So you can give me your logo and we'll put your logo on this page for you. It'll say prepared by you as the advisor, and it actually gives a really great breakdown of this person's financial personality. And aside from all of the insight this gives you as an advisor, I mean, it's hugely valuable. The other thing that it does is it actually ticks a box for the regulator, which is great. So this can form part of your record of advice to say, you did actually complete this for your clients and you analyzed their personality. And if you wanted this to kind of form part of that record of advice, you could almost ask your client to sign this document. So you'll see we've got disclaimers, terms of use. We can add a section that basically just allows you to sign the document. And because I've just generated this from a demo environment, you can see it's not got your advisor company's name or anything like that. Once we've set up your Wealth Explorer, it will be customized completely to your company, which is really awesome. Great. So what I want to quickly show you then as well is just how this risk maps across into the investments when I start to build something out. And now obviously today we're not worried about teaching you button clicking. You'll have an entire session with our incredible partner relations team who will take you through all of that. So please don't stress about that. All we're interested in now is just showing you how easy it is to actually just create an investment. And you might hear when we talk about Wealth Explorer, we sometimes refer to it as Illustrator or an illustration tool. And this is exactly why we do that. I'll show it to you, but it's basically just illustrating a portfolio that you can then create for your clients and ultimately invest them in. So I know you mentioned that quite a lot of your clients, you're doing retirement annuities. So we'll just create a portfolio metrics RA, and you're welcome to use whatever account names make sense to you and your business. So there's no standards there. You're welcome to just do whatever you like.
Let me see that list of platforms. Oh wow, okay,
Of course,
so quite a
these
while.
are our local platforms.
Okay.
Perfect. And I know you said 91, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, so as soon as we select a platform, it then automatically actually filters products relevant to the platform that we've now selected. So we can just have a scroll and look for retirement annuity. What I can then do is put in a deal value. And why is this important? So what's running in the background of Wealth Explorer is actually platform calculators. So we have calculators for 91, Allen Gray, Momentum, etc., etc. And I'm sure you'll know that often the more you invest with a platform, the lower the fee that they charge you. They often run on sliding scales. So it's important for us to just put in that deal value, which is basically just your best guess at how much money will be in this account within a year, and that then will just kind of play into how we can generate or look at the fees that the platform will give you. And if you have preferential fees with a platform, you can just let us know, and we'll obviously just input that into the calculator for you so that those fees are accurate. Okay, so I've just put in a number. You can, when we set up your Wealth Explorer, let me know what your ongoing fee is so that you don't have to enter this figure in each time. We'll just assume that for now. Great, so now what the system's doing is it's actually based on what you've told it. You've told it that you're creating a retirement annuity, which obviously is a local platform. It's going to be Reg 28 compliant. So what the system is doing is it's using that information to give you this efficient frontier where you then are just completely able to move along the efficient frontier. So it's important to note that Wealth Explorer will never tell you what to invest your client in, what product, or at what risk score. And I'll explain that in a minute. I'll just show you quickly as I begin to move my mouse along this efficient frontier, we can see all of the elements on the screen actually beginning to change. So our target asset allocation starts to move, the fund blend just below my mouse starts to change, and I'm able to basically move along this entire curve. And as I'm doing that, I'm actually creating a portfolio for the client that I'm working on. And the way that we map across from the FPA is actually with this green box that's showing up. And this green box is what we call our, well, the client's composure zone. So composure zone is just based on that assessment, how comfortable are they with the portfolio that you're busy constructing for them. Now, this isn't to say that, Tracy had a moderate risk appetite. That's not to say that we now need to put Tracy in this green box. The system can't possibly know all of the information that you as the advisor know. You know if Tracy's in massive amounts of debt and actually can't afford to take on this level of risk, or Tracy's just inherited millions of rands, we can only dream, and she can actually afford to be more risky than she perhaps is comfortable with. So it's just really creating that narrative or that story that you're telling your client, and it's building on your record of advice to say, this is your personality, this is what it's telling me, but actually I'm going to invest you at this point because of X, Y, and Z. Okay, so say I decide now this point on the efficient frontier is the point I'm happy with. We can see that it's telling me that what I can expect from this portfolio is an expected return of CPI plus 5.17%. So that's almost what this portfolio is targeting. This is what its asset allocation looks like. So we're breaking it up between all of these different asset classes. And again, this is wonderful, but if I wanted to have kind of a deep dive look into those underlying funds making up these asset classes, I can very easily just click on an investments breakdown. Now, in this instance, we're still building this out. So when it goes live, you will see more underlying funds reflecting here, but it really does just give you an indication of what is making up my portfolio, what is my client actually going to be invested in. And if you've got clients who are especially savvy or knowledgeable of the investment universe, it does make it easier to then have conversations with them on exactly the portfolio that they're going to be invested in. Okay, so let's just go back to our asset allocation view. you can see here this multi-asset fund blend over here. So by this point that I've selected, I'm actually investing 100% in our cautious fund. If, for instance, I'd actually gone to a slightly different point, you can see it's a combination of our cautious fund and our moderate fund at these weights. What you would then do as the advisor is you would go to the platform, you would go to 91 and you would fill in the normal application form. And you would literally just say to them, I want to invest 62% and 38% into the cautious and the moderate fund. And you then know that by that allocation, you are targeting this point on the efficient frontier. And what's so incredible about the system is that you're actually able to generate a proposal document straight from Wealth Explorer, which will pull through all of these elements into a really nice document for you to give to your client to say, this is what I'm proposing we do. You know, we can create your company specific story. We can put in information that you think is relevant to telling the story of your firm. And that will all just generate straight from the system. So if I can just give you a sense of what that could potentially look like. And again, this was just generated from our demo company. You'll notice there's one or two graphs that aren't pulling through because we're still in the process of actually creating this document. But this would almost be a template version. Victoria Financial Planning is our demo company. We would put your branding, your corporate identity, the fonts that you want to use, completely design it to reflect your firm. And you can just see, and I'm happy to send this to you. You're welcome to have a read. But basically this information where we've got company history, your team, we can put pictures of your team and, you know, their qualifications or how they fit in or absolutely anything. This is very much just a starting point for your proposal document. You're more than welcome to have a look at it and actually tell me that maybe you don't like it or there's an element of it that you absolutely love and something that you don't think you'll ever need. We can rework it and make it you know, as valuable and relevant to your firm. So in this instance, if I clicked generate a proposal, this is actually my account name. So I was obviously just creating a global solution here. It would then pull through just the relevant information that you had inputted into the system. It'll tell you the fund split. It'll actually generate those beautiful images from Wealth Explorer, which aren't generating yet, but it'll pull those through for you as well. So where you would have been spending hours, hopefully not, but where you could have possibly spending hours trying to pull together relevant information to create this proposal, it really is as easy as clicking a button. And if you're not keen on kind of this full deep dive kind of look through or you know, it's quite an extensive proposal document with an appendix that goes into detail on different financial products, etc., etc. You can also just generate a quick, almost portfolio confirmation document, which I'm just showing to you now. And this is basically just an absolute summary of that portfolio that you're looking at constructing. This is also really helpful for you or for your admin team. If you do have an admin team who are helping you actually implement these investments, you can generate this document for them. It's got the fund names, it's got their ISINs, it'll break down the rand value or dollar value. This is a global portfolio, and their weightings, making it really easy to just obviously go to the platform, tell them what it is you're wanting to invest in, send it off, and you're done. And that really is how simple and beautiful the system is. Of course, what we're still busy kind of generating and looking at is also that fees breakdown. So we can see for now it's just a little bit slow, but you can actually have a look at the breakdown of fees based on that proportion or that blend of funds that you were looking at on the efficient frontier. Sorry, you were going to ask a question.
Can we please quickly build out a global portfolio? I just want to see how that would work.
Of course.
So the way I understand it, you can build out a South African portfolio with your South African unit trusts, your multi-asset class funds. You could build out a Rand implementation of a global portfolio, and you could build out a portfolio that is direct offshore, built of UCITS funds. Is that correct?
Yes, that's absolutely spot on. So in this instance, when we create a global investment, we'll be accessing our UCITS funds. You're exactly right. So let's just have a quick look for that global solution. Good thing I have glasses.
I think I saw it at the top there, Kirst. If you go up,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Okay,
Thanks, Kath. Okay, so you can see here that it's specifying USD as a currency, and on 91, the only class that we have is actually USD. So this is what you would be able to select. But on Allen Gray, for instance, you can access USD or GBP as an implementation currency class. Okay, so I'm just creating that portfolio. And again, the system knows now that we're talking about a global investment. So you'll notice that these asset allocation or these asset classes are actually look different, obviously, to when we were looking at a local solution. And interestingly here, we've got that multi-asset fund blend. And you can see at the lowest point of this efficient frontier, we're actually blending partly with PIMCO, a PIMCO global bond fund. Okay, so we've got a blend between PIMCO, between our Global Diversified Fund, and if we move up this efficient frontier, we're going to start to take on global equity as well, our Global Equity Fund. So
could you just show me the investments look through, for example, on this portfolio at a 69 risk score?
Of course, perfect. Here we go, it's breaking it down for you. And this is exactly what will generate and pull through if you create a portfolio confirmation document, just to give you this look through of the underlying funds making up those asset classes.
Okay, so in a global view, the asset classes even go down to the granular detail of kind of Japanese equities, Pacific ex-Japan equities. Okay, emerging market bonds, I see. It's a bit more detailed than on the local side. Okay, yeah. That's interesting. Thank you, Kirst. Okay, so just as a recap, I would start the process by running the financial personality assessment with my clients if I wanted to. If I decided not to use the personality assessment, I would see the sufficient frontier for the client in building their portfolio without the green composure zone. The document the system helps me generate is the report that I can give to the client, and the report for me is the advisor on the client's financial personality, and then a full proposal document for the client once I have decided what portfolio to build out for them, as well as a portfolio summary document to show the client exactly what portfolio I have proposed in terms of asset class allocations, actual funds selected, and a look through to the very underlying funds that they'd be holding.
Exactly, Kath. And you can also just play around to have a look at those fees. You can have a look at a fees breakdown, which will just give you an indication of what you would potentially be paying for that particular, what your client would be paying for that particular portfolio. We are still in the process of making this look a little bit prettier and a little bit more relevant, so I won't dive into too much detail with you on that now, but that is also something really useful for you when you are looking at constructing these different portfolios. It's very easy for you to have a look at the fees as well, instead of having to go to the platform and requesting a quote. You can just use the system to have a look as well.